Mr. Peter M. Huels, Chief Executive Officer for BDP Project Logistics. Good afternoon and thank you for this interview.
Hi, how are you?
Very good, sir. Now, tell us something about BDP International. What do you do? How are you relevant to the companies operating in the petrochemical and chemical industries in Singapore and in Asia?
Yeah, BDP is a privately held company headquartered in the United States. We have been in business for about 42 years, and we have serviced the chemical and petrochemical industry for probably 30 of those 42 years. It's a relationship we started when we received some business opportunities from DuPont, one of the large chemical companies in the US. And over the last 30 years, what has happened is that we've tended to migrate into that specialized sector of chemical logistics, which makes us a very dominant player at the moment. Probably 65 to 70% of our global revenues come from the chemical, petrochemical, logistic sector. We've had a strong base in Singapore for the last 15 years. This is our regional headquarters for the logistics side, and we of course are involved in regional and global logistics activities and transportation, servicing that industry.
Right. What kind of chemicals do you handle best?
Primarily, it is the marine packed cargo, the manufactured chemicals. So it's polymers, it's all sorts of chemicals. We do not really engage in bulk commodities, chemical tankers and that sort of thing. We stay away from that. Our niche is the marine side, as well as air freight. Surprisingly, there's quite a bit of air freight that companies ship when they get in trouble or production slows down. But it's the air and ocean transportation, land transportation of chemicals, sometimes hazardous chemicals as well, dangerous cargo, yeah.
Those, okay. Very specialized indeed.
Yes, yes.
Nothing on oil?
No bulk and oil products really. We do lubricating oil and manufacture products downstream, but not bulk, you know.
Are your revenue figures a company secret? Can you talk about this?
Top line revenue, we're happy to share that with you. It's about $1.5 billion US on a global scale.
Right. How important is Asia with regards to those revenues?
Asia is probably 40% of our business, probably EBITDA, net bottom, about 30% of our global profits. Europe has been rising, and of course the US is a very strong market for us, and Latin America is starting to come up, slow figures, but so I would say between 30 and 40% of our revenue comes from the Asia Pacific region.
And those revenues are still growing?
Oh yeah, probably 22% this year.
Right. Now, you started this office more than a decade ago.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about the growth that you've experienced in the last decade or so. I recall you started with 2 offices back in the 90s. So what is the number of offices and staff you have today?
In Singapore, it's about 120 staff, and we have about 30 or 32 offices at last count in the Asia-Pac region. Globally, it's 120 offices, but Asia's gone from 2 to 30, I think 31, 32 offices. And staff-wise, it's about 750 in the region. So that's pretty strong growth for us.
Yeah, and you see those growth continuing?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we still have to expand into a few other countries like the Philippines and Vietnam. So we're not quite done yet.
Not quite done yet.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, in February, your company issued a statement that it and other small-sized, medium-sized firms had chosen Singapore as the location for the global alliance to challenge the big players. Now, what's this alliance about, and what is Singapore going to be doing for this alliance?
Yeah, the competitors for BDP on a global scale are some pretty large companies that have been around, sometimes the European players, for over 100 years. They've had the first 60 years of a head start, so to speak, to expand into pretty much every corner of the world. BDP, despite the fact we do $1.5 billion and have 120 offices, we're still not entirely global. We are not actively ourselves operating in markets like Japan, parts of Central America, Africa is a gap for us. So clearly around the world, we are not everywhere. We're in the key markets, but we're not in all the markets. And increasingly, the globalized business today, customers will demand that you service their business in pretty much every country, from Ecuador to South Africa to Bahrain to wherever they're operating. And seeing that most of our customers are global customers, and we don't have these physical physical operations ourselves in some of these markets. We need partners in these markets. So we formed this alliance, which is basically a global network of primarily private companies as well, because of the company culture. When you have a private company in this country and a private company in this country, your culture tends to be similar in terms of what's important to you. So the Global Alliance will help us serve these global customers in the markets where we don't operate ourselves. We're aligning our systems, our strategic thinking, and serving the same types of customers, i.e. chemical customers to a large extent. So we've chosen those partners very carefully.
How many companies are involved in this alliance?
There are probably 50 plus companies in pretty much 50 markets. There are a lot of countries in the world. Many of them we would not want to set up ourselves. Either they're too small or too specialized or too unique for us to be in. There's over 50 countries in Africa alone. You need somebody in Nigeria, you need somebody in South Africa, and we just haven't gotten to opening our own offices there. So we need strong local partners that know the local business environment, local regulation, and so forth.
Right. And BDP is like the leader of this group?
Yeah, we're sort of the anchor tenant. You can say that in a shopping center you have an anchor tenant because we are largely global. So we cover 75% of the markets we need to be in, and the other 25 or 30% we need those local players. So we provide the IT infrastructure because we need to have common IT in many cases because our customers demand global tracking and metrics, business standards, and so forth. So they're really working under the umbrella organization of BDP.
Right. So those companies eventually have to adopt your IT system or adopt some of your, I'm not sure what other systems, but they have to synchronize with what you have, right?
Synchronize is the better word, yeah. Often you need an operating system in a local country built for the local standards, customs interfaces, etc. But the access to the tracking of the data, so there's interfaces between their system and ours. They're feeding us data, and we display it, obviously, web-based system. So yes, there is an interface connection. We're not forcing them to use our system, but they're able to access our technology, so to speak.
Right. What kind of investments is your company going to make in making this alliance work?
We're not asking for investment. They pay a membership fee, an annual membership fee. So it's a little bit like wanting to belong to a nice country club. The country club provides the facilities, and you pay a membership fee, and then you benefit from the common membership base. So it's a membership-based system rather than investment.
Right. And is BDP going to put up a lot in terms of investments to make this work?
Surely. I mean, we have a global group that services those partners and that provides the interface between the partners and our core operating units. In each continent, we have global network managers. Of course, as we're rolling out this business model since the beginning of the year, we have regional meetings, and then we have an executive committee, which is made up of senior people from BDP and we call them premium partners, so that we shape this thing in the years to come with a common bond and a common mindset.